What if the single most important mission safeguarding a nation's existence, its nuclear defense, is quietly being undermined by its own bureaucracy? In a tense confirmation hearing, a nominee for one of the most powerful positions in the world is grilled on a critical paradox. While the United States government officially declares nuclear deterrence its highest priority, its actions or lack thereof tell a story of critical delays and systemic inertia. As senators demand more than just assurances, seeking concrete commitments to overhaul an aging nuclear triad in the face of rapidly advancing adversaries, the nominee presents a vision of radical change. But can one individual truly reform the colossal, insular culture of the Pentagon? Or will these promises of innovation and urgency be swallowed by the very system he aims to fix?
Thank you for the meeting that we had. We talked about a number of things. First and foremost was that nuclear weapons are foundational to our national defense, and having a safe, effective, and credible nuclear deterrent underpins our alliances, and as you know, it deters our adversaries. Nuclear deterrence has been, and you and I believe, agreed on this, it must continue to be unequivocally the highest priority mission of the Department of Defense. But deterrence only works if our adversaries believe our nuclear forces are effective and credible. All three legs of our triad are undergoing that generational recapitalization programs, and we cannot afford any more delays in those programs. Sir, do you believe and agree with President Trump's 2018 nuclear posture review that preventing adversary nuclear attacks is, quote, the highest priority of the United States?
Senator, yes, I do.
If confirmed, will you commit to supporting all three legs of the nuclear triad and to using every tool available to deliver these systems on schedule?
Senator, yes, I do, because ultimately our deterrence, our survival is reliant upon the capability, the perception, and the reality of the capability of our nuclear triad. We have to invest in its modernization for the defense of our nation.
While former secretaries of defense have stated that nuclear deterrence is the highest priority, we haven't really seen that translated into budget requests or using the tools like the Defense Production Act. You've spoken about increasing lethality. You've spoken about getting programs done faster. How would you actually implement a culture change so that we can see these delivery schedules move forward, be rewarded? I can tell you in most every briefing we have, the schedules we're on are too late. So what would you do?
Well, ultimately focused first on the things that are most important, as we have discussed, Senator, the nuclear triad, understanding whether it's the B-21 or the Minuteman to the Sentinel, all aspects, or the Columbia-class submarines, ballistic missiles. What are the priorities that need to be focused on and ensure that in those particular cases, you mentioned it, Senator, the Defense Production Act, emergency powers. If we're at a place where our nuclear capabilities are perceived to not be what they are, that is an emergency. And we have an ally in our incoming commander-in-chief, in President Donald Trump, who has spoken about these things, understands the power and strength of nuclear deterrence, will not allow them to be
It's the existential
deprioritized.
threat. It's the existential threat to this nation. How do you change the culture? It's not just the Production Act that's going to be able to do it. How are you going to move forward faster?
Competition, Senator, is important, critically important. The Death Valley that was talked about, leveraging the innovation of Silicon Valley, which for the first time in generations has shown a willingness, desire, and capability to bring its best technologies to bear at the Pentagon, a Pentagon that has become too insular, tries to block new technologies from coming in. So we have to embrace that, there's some great Office of Strategic Capital, DIU initiatives that provide loans to companies to participate, because you have to invest in the defense industrial base for the longer term projects. We have the capability, the missiles and the munitions, but also to rapidly field emerging technologies that we need on the battlefield right now. So as we learn things, say in the war in Ukraine, those technologies, as we look at threats we're going to face, find ways to rapidly field those using off-the-shelf technologies or standard designs, modular designs. Another easy one, Senator, that became evident in the process is digital designs. The Pentagon often builds entire systems without first using a digital design, which means you build prototypes and then scrap them and start over again. No private sector business could survive doing business that way. So there's a lot of innovation, and I'm going to hire a lot of smart people already have to help with that.
In the 2025 NDAA, it was established to a new position, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear Deterrence, Chemical and Biological Defense Policy and Programs. And that was established so we could cut through a lot of the bureaucratic stovepipes that we see in the office of the Secretary of Defense. If confirmed, will you direct the Department of Defense components to expeditiously implement this reform?
It sounds great. I would want to look directly at exactly what that reform is.
It is
I
great.
take your word that it's great, Senator. I will review it robustly, and I look forward to implementing it.
Okay, thank you. During the first Trump administration, the 2018 Nuclear Posture Review concluded that the U.S. needed to once again develop and deploy a nuclear-armed sea-launched cruise missile known as SLCM to offset significant Russian and Chinese advantages in theater-range nuclear capabilities. Since then, Congress, on a strong bipartisan basis, has directed the Navy and the National Nuclear Security Administration to continue this effort. Do you support the SLCM program?
As of right now, Senator, based on what I know, I do, but one of my answers I'll have repeatedly throughout this morning is getting an opportunity to look under the hood of classified material, get an understanding of true capabilities vis-a-vis enemy capabilities. Because what we know right now on the what I know on the nuclear side is that Russia and China are rushing to modernize and build arsenals larger than ours. We need to match threats to capabilities, and the systems we elevate will be tied to whether those capabilities are needed based on the adversaries we face.
Would you ensure that this program is executed according to law?
Absolutely, Senator.
What, short here, what is your plan to revitalize the industrial base in this country?
Needs to be real short.
Real short.
Serious investment targeted at systems that we truly need by also incentivizing competition and laser focus from the OSD, from the Office of Secretary of Defense, to all the particular strategic initiatives.
The exchange captured in this hearing is more than a simple policy discussion. It's a dissection of a deep and dangerous chasm between proclamation and execution at the heart of America's national defense. On one side, we have the Inquisitor, a senator armed with policy specifics and a clear objective to secure unwavering, actionable commitments. On the other, the nominee, who presents himself as a modernizing reformer, tasked with inheriting a system he himself describes as dangerously inert. The central conflict is not whether nuclear deterrence is important. All parties agree. It is the highest priority mission, but how to rescue its modernization from the bureaucratic death valley that suffocates progress. The senator's strategy is methodical and sharp. She doesn't just ask for agreement. She frames her questions around existing policy, like the 2018 Nuclear Posture Review, forcing the nominee to align with or deviate from established doctrine. Her most potent tactic is the yes, but approach. After securing his agreement that deterrence is paramount, she immediately pivots to the glaring inconsistency. We haven't really seen that translated into budget requests or using the tools like the Defense Production Act. This transforms a hearing about philosophy into a trial about execution. She isn't just asking what he believes. She's asking what he will do differently to fix a system where, in her words, the delivery schedules are already too late. In response, the nominee employs a sophisticated blend of resolute vision and calculated caution. His primary rhetorical tool is framing himself as an agent of cultural transformation. He identifies the enemy not as a foreign power, but as an internal, insular Pentagon culture that tries to block new technologies from coming in. His proposed solutions are a direct assault on this old guard mentality. He champions bringing in the disruptive innovation of Silicon Valley, leveraging competition, and adopting modern private sector practices like digital designs to avoid the colossal waste of building and scrapping physical prototypes. This narrative positions him not as another bureaucrat, but as a visionary CEO ready to overhaul a failing corporation. He further burnishes these credentials by aligning himself with the incoming commander-in-chief, signaling he has the political backing for such a shakeup. However, a closer look at his language reveals the careful maneuvering of a seasoned political operator. When questioned on the specifics of the new Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Deterrence role, he doesn't give an immediate, unqualified yes. Instead, he says, "I would want to look directly at exactly what that reform is, before offering a more reassuring, I will review it robustly, and I look forward to implementing it." His response to the Nuclear Sea-Launched Cruise Missile (SLCM) program is even more telling. He offers conditional support. "As of right now, Senator, based on what I know, I do," but immediately creates an escape hatch by invoking the need to look under the hood at classified material to match threats to capabilities. This allows him to appear supportive of a congressionally backed program while retaining the executive flexibility to alter or deprioritize it later based on intelligence he does not yet possess. It is the quintessential confirmation hearing answer, decisive in tone, but non-binding in practice. The core theme underpinning this entire exchange is the battle between perception and reality. The nominee himself states that deterrence is reliant upon the perception and the reality of the capability of our nuclear triad. The Senator's concern is that the reality program delays and bureaucratic foot-dragging is beginning to erode the perception of credibility among adversaries. The nominee's argument is that a failure of perception is, in itself, an emergency that justifies radical action, including the use of the Defense Production Act. This is all set against the stark backdrop of a new arms race, with the nominee explicitly stating that Russia and China are rushing to modernize and build arsenals larger than ours. This global context transforms the conversation from an internal housekeeping matter into an issue of existential national survival. So, can this nominee truly fix the problem? He has correctly diagnosed the illness, a sclerotic, risk-averse culture that stifles the very innovation needed to keep pace with adversaries. His prescribed treatment plan, injecting competition, private sector speed, and modern design philosophy is compelling and directly targets the disease rather than just the symptoms. Yet, the hearing also reveals the immense challenge of administering that cure. The system is designed to resist the kind of rapid change he advocates. While he has a clear vision for revitalizing the industrial base through serious investment and laser focus, his cautious answers on specific programs and reforms show an awareness that he cannot simply command a culture to change. He must navigate it. The fate of America's nuclear deterrent, therefore, rests not just on his vision, but on his political skill to turn that vision into a reality against the colossal weight of the status quo. What do you think? Can a culture of innovation truly be forced upon the Pentagon? Or are its old ways too entrenched to change? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the powers shaping our world.